Hello and welcome back. This is video number 8, and we're going to talk about the first strategy for building your list. Now, obviously, this is what we have built up to this point, and we know that we are going to approach vendors. Now, before you approach vendors and try to get them to say, yes, I will put your offer on the thank you page, you want to do a few things. Now, this is not necessarily required, but this is going to help you get more yeses. So once you have everything in hand, what we highly recommend that you do is you set up your product on a real sales page. Now, you might be thinking, oh, this is so hard to do, but in reality, what I recommend that you do is taking what you learned in the previous video about getting a script written, finding a video spokesperson on Fiverr to read that script. All you have to do is you can do the same thing. Just get a script written, and you can find somebody like a copywriter to write a very, very short script that explains what your product is all about, how it's beneficial, what it offers, and just give it to a video spokesperson, get them to create the video, then upload that video onto a sales page with a buy button. And you can create buy buttons super easy via PayPal. Now, if you have any problems, you can get somebody else to create your sales page, but it's really not a complex process. The reason why we want to do this is because we want to put your product out in the public so that the public can see that you are actually selling this product. Like I said, it's not required, but what it does is it bumps up the perceived value of your offer. So when you actually approach vendors, you can say, hey, this product is actually being sold for $47, but I'm going to give it to your subscribers, your customers, for free. And it's going to be a win-win situation for your buyers, for you, because your buyers are going to be much happier, and then it's a win-win situation for everybody. So there are many different ways of approaching vendors, which we'll talk about in just a second, and how to approach these vendors with your specialized offers. So we're going to discuss what you must do and what you must avoid doing at all costs that can actually cost the deal. So let me go ahead and show you how to do that. Okay, so this process does take time. So a quick warning to you, but it's better to actually do this before you create your high value offer. And you really should be focusing more on this process than just actually creating the product itself. That's why I put so much emphasis on outsourcing your high value offer to somebody else, so you can focus primarily on this. Because really what it comes down to, this is very, very similar to joint ventures, building relationships and then getting vendors to say yes. It's very, very hard nowadays to approach a vendor or even approach somebody to get them to promote your product. And you really have to have a relationship or a connection between you and them, typically before they will say yes. Now, there are different ways to get them to say yes. And we'll talk about one way in this particular video, and then we'll talk about a different way in the video number 9. So this is basically the process. Step 1 is to create a connection. Now, how do you do that? Well, there are several different ways to do that. And the first way is, of course, to buy their product. So in this case, if we're going to do something on weight loss, specifically related to foods, then what we want to do is we want to find all the vendors that are not directly related to weight loss foods, but maybe they offer things like weight loss exercises or things that are not directly in competition that they would more likely say yes. So you can buy their product, or you can be their affiliate and promote their product, which we'll talk more about in the next video. So you got to have that connection. A lot of people feel like they approach people or as many people as possible and get them to say yes. It's better to approach 10 people or 5 people that you've done your research on and that you've created a connection with than just blanket trying to approach 50 or 100 people. At the end of the day, quality is more important than quantity. So make that connection. And this connection, as you can see, can be built over time. Step number 2 is building a relationship with them, talking with them. Subscribe to their newsletter. Every time they email out, respond with something actually interesting. Now, one mistake that I see a lot of people make is when a vendor emails out and they respond with, hey, will you buy my stuff? Or will you promote my stuff? That's a big no-no. You do not want to do that. You want to build a relationship with them. Instead of saying that, which is what everybody else does, respond with something like, hey, I really like your newsletter, or hey, I really thought that this was thought-provoking. So build a relationship with them, email them. You can even sell their product as an affiliate. If you make sales for them, which is what we'll talk about in the future videos, that will actually get the vendor's attention. Now, that's a different story for a different video. But really want to do is just build a relationship with them. And as you know, relationships take time to build. But if you can just get one yes from a big enough vendor, a lot of times that's just good enough. And then once you have that one vendor say yes, then getting other vendors to say yes is actually an easier process after that. Step 3, approach them when the time is right, after you have built that relationship. You see why I want you to kind of do this process before you even create your high value offer? Because this process does take time, and most people are not willing to do it. And because of that, that leaves open a large amount of opportunity. So for those of you who are the 1% action takers out there, it does take time, but it's going to be worth it in the long run. So step number 3, approach them when the time is right. Step 4, email them, but offer value. Every email or reply to them, it must be offering value. You don't want to ever get into this mindset of, you owe me, you need to promote my product, or you need to do this or that. That is the wrong mindset. And even if you feel wholeheartedly about that, don't ever get into that mindset, because unfortunately what's going to happen is if you get mad, or you're mean, or you spam them, for example, then what will happen is they're just not going to respond. So step 5, don't get mad, don't refund, don't be mean or anything, because highly likely if they're an authority in their niche, they are more likely to know other vendors. So if you get mad at them, they're going to tell their friends, or it might just come up in conversation. And if that's the case, then it's going to be hard to break in to that niche. Does that make sense? So that's the process. Very simple, very easy to do. As far as emailing them and trying to figure out what you should email them, just say, hey, just respond as a friend, as you would talk to a friend, and go from there. And then you can say, hey, for step 3, you can say, hey, I've got a product, not directly in competition with yours, but it's something that I really believe your buyers would really, really love. And I'm selling it for $47, but I really love your stuff, and I really feel like this is something that's going to help your buyers. So I was wondering if you wanted to, I'm only going to offer these to a few vendors, and I really like your stuff, so I wanted to offer that to you. So you see where we're going here? Because you have that connection, they're more likely to say yes. There's no guarantee, but they're more likely to do so if you've done the proper research. So with that said, let's move on to the next video, and I'm going to talk about a different way to create a connection without really building that close friend relationship. And in this type of strategy, you're going to be able to get on their radar quicker, and they're more likely to say yes.